I'm Anuj Shah. I am an attorney and I also have a PhD in philosophy, so some people call me Doc. I went vegan in February of 1989, so I'm in my 35th year, and I went vegan initially for health reasons, and I went vegan for animal rights reasons very soon after that, and have stayed vegan for animal reasons. The initial reason I went vegan was for health reasons. I was reading a book that didn't even have the word vegan in it. But it was February 27th, 1989 at 2:35 in the morning. I won't ever forget that moment in my life. I wasn't a vegetarian. I wasn't ever interested in being vegan. But I was reading this book, and they had a chapter in the book called Animal Products. And after I finished reading the chapter, I went white as a ghost, and I said, really? I can never eat another animal product for the rest of my life. And I thought, that chicken sandwich I had for lunch today with my friends at blah, blah, blah restaurant is the last meat I'll ever eat. And I said, yeah, I guess so. And I went vegan for that reason. The word vegan, like I said, wasn't even in the book. So I didn't even have the concept that I was a vegan. I was just I was a vegetarian, but I didn't eat any animal food. But then a couple months later, I ran into another book. And that book is a very famous book. And it had 4 parts as to why one should go vegan. There's the animal rights or ethical reasons. There's the environmental reasons. There's the health reasons. And there's also a world hunger dimension. And after I read that book, I stayed vegan. I went vegan, and I stayed vegan for ethical reasons, for animal compassion.
And what book was that?
Diet for a New America by John Robbins.
Did you notice any physiological, mental, or emotional changes after you went vegan?
Yeah, when I first went vegan in February, at the end of February, there was a couple of weeks where I felt like there was a detox kind of thing going on. Like I didn't feel badly, but I could just tell my body was releasing stuff. Like I was just going through some type of detox. So it was very interesting, but it didn't last too long, you know. I mean, I used to stay healthy anyway, whatever healthy traditionally supposed to have meant, you know, I mean, but anyway, yeah, so I did some detoxing, but you have to understand I was a teenager. So, you know, it's not like I was, 83 years old and had like a lifetime of crap in my body or something like that. I hope I can talk like that on this.
No, it's totally fine.
And, but yeah, so that was the change. And then of course, when I finally went vegan for animal ethics reasons, I mean, there was a huge transformation of the heart, right? I mean, I never was the same person again, ever, ever, ever. Seriously, nobody reads books today, right? Everybody watches these YouTube videos and Netflix, and that's great. I'm not criticizing that, but it's a different world. When I went vegan, there was no internet. There was nothing. You had to go vegan because you read a book or you read an article or somebody talked to you about it. There's not like, let's hop on YouTube and see what happens in slaughterhouses, right? So I read Diet for a New America, and that book is a beautiful book. It's also 36 years old at this point. It was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize, for people who may want to know that. John Robbins, of course, was the heir to the throne of the Baskin-Robbins empire, and he disclaimed it because it's all based in animal murder and torture and suffering, right? He talks very vividly about non-human animals in the book. I mean, he starts out the book, I still remember, he's got stories about dolphins, he's got stories about huge tortoises who save human beings' lives, dolphins who lead ships out of treacherous waters. And it's so touching and moving, and you just realize how intelligent our fellow creatures are. And why are we murdering them just so we can eat their bodies and wear their skins, and drink their fluids? It didn't make any sense to me. And so I was so deeply touched that it stayed with me for the rest of my life, and I'm still vegan for those reasons. It's changed everything about my life completely, but even just like on a day-to-day level, I became so much more aware of everything, like all the personal care products you buy, for example, all the things you buy. So you're going to buy everything that's not only that it's vegan, but I mean, I also gravitated toward all the natural stuff. So I mean, it all kind of goes hand in hand. If something's if it's vegan, it doesn't have to be that way, but more often than not, it's going to be a lot more natural. It's going to be based in plants, herbs, natural things. So I started getting away from the chemical and toxic kind of lifestyle that people generally live because we're brainwashed to do that, And so it just impacts every single part of your life. What you eat, of course, but what you buy, what you wear, where you hang out, the kind of things that you read, the people you associate with, So it's just, it permeates your entire existence.
And talk a little bit more about the challenges, maybe even including like family challenges.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So I had a different experience probably from a lot of people. I never felt like I ever experienced any challenges going vegan. I just didn't, because to me, my heart and my spirit were so strong about it. It's like, I don't care what happens, I'm vegan, that's it. I don't care what you say, I don't care where you put me, I'm vegan. I still tell this story. In 1995, I was in rural Hungary. I'd gone to visit a friend there, and we were in between Budapest and we were in the countryside. It got to be lunchtime, we got a little late with what we were doing, and there was nothing to eat anywhere, it seemed like. And so they found something, but I'm vegan. So it wasn't like, oh, I'll make this one little exception because traveling is hard, right? Everybody's got their excuse. Oh, when we travel, we make exceptions. And when we do that, when the wind blows this way, we make an exception. Because you don't have that firm foundation, right? Or that firm belief system or whatever it is that your ground that says, unshakability. It's like, whatever happens, I'm X. Well, I'm vegan. So believe it or not, we went into this little store and they had a vegan chocolate bar. It was cool. And I was like, hey, in 35 years of being vegan, it'll be 35 years next February, I can only think of one time when it was like a challenge. I don't think it was a challenge. I thought it was a fun adventure. But we went to this little thing. I mean, you can miss a meal, right? It's not exactly like the world will cave in if you like miss one meal. We're like all these first world privileged people, a lot of us, and it's like, oh God, it was just such a challenge. I wasn't able to eat lunch. So it's like, no, it was fine. I had a chocolate bar, not the healthiest thing in the world, but it was actually pretty good. It's not a junk chocolate bar. It was actually like natural ingredients, like dark chocolate and stuff, But anyway, just saying, like, no, there are no challenges because you're so resolute. I was so resolute, and I'm not saying this out of arrogance. I'm just passionately telling you, like, that's how passionately I believe in this. I was so resolute, I don't care where you put me. And I have had so many situations where, like, I wasn't able to join in the food festivities with people. But guess what? There's more to life than food. There's sociability. You talk to people. You get to learn about them. You get to meet people and connect. That's so much more important in a lot of ways than just the food. Of course, food is a great way to connect. And 99.9% of the time, for the record, there's always something you can eat, okay? Just letting you know. So it's not like people have to suffer when they go vegan. I mean, it's actually an adventure. And now in 2023 and beyond, it's almost like the norm that every place you go will have a vegan option. There'll always be at least one or two vegans in a group or, vegetarians aspiring to be vegans or something. So, when I did it, I mean, nobody even knew what the heck it was. They couldn't even pronounce the word. Even I mispronounced it. I used to say vegan. I said vegan for the first 6 months. And then I was like, John Robbins actually I'm from Houston. And he came down to Houston in the fall of 1989, just after I'd gone vegan, after reading his book. Stayed vegan because of his book. And he kept saying the word vegan. And I'm like, John's pronouncing this word wrong. It's vegan. And so anyway, yeah. So I don't know what to tell you. It's been a joy. Sure, anything worth doing in life has challenges. That's just it. If you want to live a life worth living, you're going to have challenges. If you think it's a challenge, fine, look at it as a challenge. To me, it was an adventure. And I will tell you one thing that happened. I had a very prestigious job. I won't say too much detail about it because I don't want it to, cast aspersions on this person, but I had a very prestigious job. I'm a lawyer, and after law school, it's really great to be able to go work in certain types of environments. Our boss uninvited me from lunch for the rest of my term with her because I was vegan because it made her uncomfortable. It sounds like it was her problem and not mine. Was there an impact on me? For sure there was an impact on me. It sucked. I didn't like it. I didn't like not being invited to lunch because I'm making ethical food choices that she doesn't want to make and it makes her uncomfortable. But that's what you do in life and it's fine. What was I going to do? I was like, well, I guess I want to be vegan and I'll start murdering animals again for a few more months while I'm on this term job because it's better for my career. No. You accept it and you move on. And we have a good relationship and it's very professional. And after all these years, I still keep in touch with her,
Wow. You're making me think about, there's a couple of YouTubers out there that used to be vegan, no longer vegan. One in particular.
Sorry to roll my eyes, but go ahead, yes.
Yeah, one in particular who
they were never vegan, just for the. If you're vegan, you never go back.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you go back, then you weren't vegan. You were experimenting with a plant-based lifestyle.
Yeah. You're on fire, man. This is just beautiful.
I'm always on fire. This topic is the reason that I exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent, man. So could you be with somebody who isn't vegan?
Could I eat with somebody who's not vegan?
No, be with somebody.
Not romantically.
Not even.
Will never happen.
Wow.
Will never happen. How can I wake up next to somebody in the morning who thinks it's okay to have murdered an animal, to eat that animal's flesh, to drink that animal's fluids, to wear that animal's skins, to have that animal be experimented upon or exploited to be, for entertainment or whatever? You know what? I'm not judging anybody. God bless everybody, or dog bless everybody, whatever your belief system is. And people are people, and everybody's doing their thing. And I have a lot of friends and people in my life who are very dear to me who are not vegan, and I go with it, and you live life. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect human being. I'm evolving and growing every day too. And that's a boundary. I will never have a romantic relationship, ever, with somebody who's not vegan. It just won't happen. Because the foundation of that house is starting to crumble before you even start your relationship. You have very different fundamental philosophical belief systems. I'll be your friend. Listen, none of my family members are vegan except my sister. I love my family. But what are you going to do, But I don't know if you were asking that, but that's the point. Romantically, it won't happen. So if you're watching this video and you're interested, send me a message, but if you're not vegan, don't bother.
I'm assuming you've probably been involved in some advocacy. Is that true?
Sure. I mean, so ever since I went vegan, my heart was on fire. And it's like, this is wrong. We should not be exploiting these non-human animals, or human animals for that matter, really. And sometimes it's intertwined. And I said, what can I do about this? So I did what I could. You know, in 1989, 1990, way back in a different era, right? We didn't have what we have today. We didn't have the internet. You didn't have TikTok or YouTube, all this stuff. So we did what we could do. So I joined organizations. We did protests. We stood outside, you know, like Neiman Marcus, and I called it Neiman Carcass because they sold furs. And we did what we could, you know. And then I went to Rice University here in Houston, and I started a group called the Rice Organization for Animal Rights, ROAR. And it was on fire. We did great for a few years, you know, and we did the spring meet out. You know, every spring we have a meet out thing, and I would write an article for the Rice Thresher, which is our newspaper, and explain to people why going vegan is important for the environment, for health, for ethics, etc. And it actually caused up a big stir, and then there was like some back and forth, you know, some people wrote some anti stuff. Well, the funny thing is the guy who was writing the anti stuff was actually a vegetarian, if not a vegan himself, but I think he was just all about like, I just want to present a different point of view. I was like, okay, great. But so I did that kind of stuff, and then I lived in Paris, for example, for a year, and I joined the SNDA, which was this National Society for the Defense of Animals. Met vegans there. I lived in Honolulu, Hawaii, where I got my doctorate, and I was involved in an animal rights group there. I was on the board of the Vegan Society of Hawaii. You know, and then just stuff like that. And so I've always been passionate ever since I moved. And then I was in law school in Los Angeles. I was the president of the Animal Legal Protection Society, and then I was involved with the Animal Legal Defense Fund. And you know, there was Go Vegan Radio. Bob Linden is the pioneer of so much vegan stuff, like vegan festivals, and he's the first one who ever had a vegan radio show in January of 2001. And I was right there with him. And I'll always be Bob's first donor. I'm the first person who's ever donated money to him. And Bob Linden is brilliant. He went vegan in 1984. He's got me beat by 5 years. He's also a little older, but that's okay. I'm not in a competition. I love Bob. He's incredible. We're dear friends. And so I've been on boards of organizations and try to do everything I can to try to get the message out, you know, do protests, do tabling events. And then here in Houston, I was on the board for many, many years of the Vegan Society of Peace. What I want to do though, and I'll tell you later if you ask me, but I do want to get it in because I want to actually transition my life now. I'm a lawyer. I enjoy what I do very much. I actually enjoy practicing law very much. And what I'm looking to do is transition out of that to sell my law firm to someone who would take over and, you know, take over our intellectual property and work product and client databases and stuff. And I do primarily immigration law, and become a full-time vegan advocate. I would like to write. I want to be a writer of blogs, books, articles. I want to do YouTube videos, podcasts. I won't be competing with you, Jeff, don't worry. But there's plenty of room for all of us, let me tell you, in the vegan landscape. And I just want to do that. I want to inspire hearts and minds of people to say, hey, you know what? There's a better way to live. We don't have to live exploiting other beings. We can live in peace and harmony with the world and be much healthier and have a clean and beautiful spirit while we're doing it, you know?
Yeah, and a lot of what you're talking about reminds me of why we're here today, right? You know, we want to talk about that, the reason why, and while also where we're at, Pythagoras here?
Sure, we're here in Houston, and actually a suburb of Houston called Sugar Land, Texas, just 10, 15, 20 miles outside of Houston. We're at a restaurant called Pythagoras. The owner, Ruzi, and you know, his wife, Ruzi had this aha moment. He was driving a car, like they were in the hotel business, and so he was taking
actually
a shuttle.
Interviewed him already.
Watch the video and you'll see how Ruzi went vegan. He's got a passionate story. I've heard it so many times because I come to the restaurant a lot, and every time I come I bring new people, and I always have Ruzi tell them the story, so I know it inside and out, so I won't repeat it here. But anyway, so he and his wife opened this wonderful Persian style restaurant, 100% vegan. And and so today we're with Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, right? And so a good friend of mine, Faraz Harsini, in fact, he says it publicly, so I'll say it because I wouldn't be able to say it myself, but I was his immigration lawyer, actually, to help him get legal status.
I just released his video last Friday.
It's got 11,000 views. We just saw that. It's amazing.
Wow.
Faraz is amazing. He's just so passionate. He's such a great guy. And I'm honored to have been his lawyer. I'm honored to be his friend. And I'm really thrilled that he's doing so well with this organization. So yeah, we're here to support him.
So I'm curious, being vegan this long, you must have gotten all kinds of diseases from being vegan.
Yeah, I'm barely alive, let me tell you. In fact, every day when the wind blows, I'm almost about to be blown away, and I wonder how I'm gonna survive the protein deficiency. It's really a big issue, let me tell you. The calcium deficiency, my life is just in shambles, Jeff. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm a blimp. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, there's some people waiting outside to carry me back home and stick me in that big wheelchair once I get there. You know, this is all a facade.
Yeah. Well, I'll be sure to help you get to your car.
Please, that would be really helpful. Yeah, I can barely move.
It's probably because all this food you ate.
Yes, guilty as charged. There's a lot of wonderful vegan food tonight, including that incredible blueberry cheesecake.
Yeah.
Vegan, all vegan.
Oh, I haven't even tried that yet.
Try
Dang
it.
it.
Yeah, it's great.
So say you're with somebody, whether it's for work or it's just a friend or whatever. They sit down with you at a restaurant like this, or not like this because this one's vegan. But say it's not a vegan restaurant, and they're like, "Hey, is it okay if I order chicken?"
Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, it's your life. I mean, I'm not. Here's the thing: deeply passionate I am about this issue. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'd like to lead by example. I'd love to inspire you, and I'm not here to impose my point of view on you. I mean, you know, if you want to talk about it, I'm happy to tell you why I went vegan. Maybe start out kind of small, and then if you want to hear more, I'll tell you more. Right? Because it's all about. You're never gonna like inspire somebody or convince someone by like stomping on them or shouting at them or drowning them in information especially if it's unsolicited. I just want to lead by example, and a lot of people are like, "Hey, you look great. You live this incredible life. You're always joyful. What's the issue? How do you do it? You know, you have so much on your plate. You know, I have family members who have, you know, we do caregiving for. I run a law firm full time. You know, I just do all this stuff, and you always have energy and whatever. And it's like I just tell you, you know, look, I'm on this wonderful vegan diet, and it's just incredible, and it brings me joy. It brings me happiness. It gives me spiritual fulfillment. Gives me mental and emotional fulfillment and energy, and of course the food is all plants. It's the best food you could possibly eat on the planet. The strongest animals in the world eat plants. Hippopotamuses or hippopotami, right? Giraffes, elephants. What do you think? Rhinoceros, that's all they eat.
Yeah, and our closest living relative, chimpanzees.
Yeah, chimpanzees, I mean, and they're the strongest animals on earth. Try to arm wrestle a hippo, it's not gonna be good. You know what I mean? And that's all they eat is like leaves and twigs and plants and elephants. Look at those monsters. You know, not monsters in a bad way, but like they're just monstrously big, right? I mean, elephants are the most lovely creatures, but I'm just saying, so people, you know, we've been sold a bill of goods, obviously, and you know, for example, Garth Davis has written, you know, to Proteinaholic, you know, Dr. Garth Davis from Houston here.
Yeah, I interviewed him.
And what's that? I actually interviewed him for my podcast a few years ago. So anyway, lovely gentleman, and that's the thing. We've been sold this bill of goods. If you don't eat animal foods, you'll die. You'll be deficient in something. You'll definitely be protein deficient. And so there's all these diets about people eating keto and paleo and whatever. It's like it's always animal centered. You know, it's like if you don't have these animal parts and this part of an animal's flesh or whatever, you'll just be deficient.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like they keep coming up with a new one because the last one failed. Like how many times they keep trying?
It's just variations on a theme. Then it was keto. It was what was it? It was Atkins. Then it was South Beach. Then it was this. Now it's paleo. Then it's keto. And it's whatever.
Carnivore.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. There's a guy that I have a good relationship with in a kind of a consulting mastermind type group, for lack of a better term. And he's big on what's called vegan. So it's primarily plant-based, but he thinks that eating some animals is still healthy. And it's hard to argue with people. You know, he read it in some book. I think there was a book called The Vegan Diet or something. And I was, you know, look, you know, all I can do is continue to radiate my message. And I actually today am wearing this, which is really interesting because there was, you know, I wanted to honor, you know, Faraz's project, and it sounded like there were going to be a lot of people here I had met, so I kind of came a little bit more dressed up, but I'm usually 99% of the time, I always have a vegan shirt on, always. And so my car has a magnet on it that says Vegan Texan. And so I can't go anywhere without anyone knowing that I'm vegan. Yeah. I wear it on my shirt, literally.
You don't get any hate for that?
Never. What's interesting is, I don't get nearly as much love for it either, though, which is interesting, you know? I mean, I would think that because I try to wear certain shirts, like I have some shirts that are like I got one shirt that's like Vegan Texan. And I love that shirt because it's so ironic. Like here in Texas, it's not ironic. But I wear it all around the world, you know? I'm fortunate to be able to travel in different places and it's really a great conversation starter, right? You're like in Croatia and somebody will be like, Vegan Texan? There are vegans in Texas? Isn't that where they have all those oil fields and cattle ranches? And I'm like, yeah, and there's vegans there too. You know, so it's like a fun conversation starter. But that's part of my advocacy. Everywhere I go, and my license plate is Dr. Vegan.
No way.
Yeah. So my license plate, my bumpers, my magnet, and all my shirts, everything I wear is always vegan. So it's kind of, you'd be hard pressed to figure out I'm not vegan, you know? Yeah.
Have you had any luck with family members going vegan or anything like that?
Not really. So it's interesting. We're Indian of origin, and so it's a real tragedy in some ways, because what the thing with certain Indian cultures is, so we're from a part of India called Gujarat originally, so we're Gujarati. Gandhi was Gujarati, just to give you a reference point. They're mostly already vegetarian anyway, and they're lacto-vegetarian for the most part. So they don't eat eggs, and they don't eat any meat, fish, poultry, whatever. So the thing is, they have this idea that they're already there. We're already there. We don't eat meat. We don't eat eggs. We're there. And you're like, you are so far from there. Do you know how much suffering and murder and bloody violence there is in the dairy industry? But they don't want to hear that. It's really sad. You know, in a way, it's like you've got these people who are not that close, but they're within striking distance from being able to make a decision for their lives that would be completely in harmony with like 100% nonviolent diet. But because they feel like they're so close, they don't feel like they have to go all the way there, if that makes any sense. So my parents are vegan-ish. They're vegan when they're at home, pretty much, and they're great. I mean, they buy the vegan eggs, and they buy the vegan milks and everything, and vegan butters and stuff, and then they'll go out, like they just were on a cruise this past week, and they ate all kinds of crap. And I wasn't on the cruise with them, but I know they did. I know they had stuff that probably had eggs in it, but probably had butter and cheese and cream and cow's milk or goat's milk or some animal milk or whatever, some animal mammary secretion, as Bob Linden would say. And God bless them, I love my folks, and they're who they are, and they're not going to probably change at this stage. You know, they're in their 70s, you know.
Yeah. Do you have, before I forget, I don't want to forget, do you have like already a YouTube channel and all that? And
it's all in the works, Jeff.
Okay.
So, message for everyone. If you know someone who'd be interested in purchasing an immigration law firm, send them my way. I really want to transition out of this and become a full-time vegan advocate, because that's my passion in life. And I want to do everything I can. I want to write books.
You
and
said
I want to do
you had a podcast,
YouTube.
right?
I had a podcast. We did a couple dozen shows, and then that went on the side. My engineer ended up doing something else, and so I'm getting back into all of this. So I want to do blogs. I want to do podcasts. I want to do YouTube.
Think you'll have like a handle or something, maybe?
I do have a handle. I need to get it trademarked. Should I say it here? I don't know. But I'll give you a hint. It combines the fact that I'm a philosopher, because I have a master's and PhD in philosophy, I'm a lawyer, and I'm a vegan. So it's going to be something combining all that. But yeah, I do want to do a YouTube channel, and I want to do all the stuff, because I would love to write about it and talk about it and interview people about it and do videos about it and just whatever, and talk about it and give talks. I want to do a TED Talk on this one day. It's important. You want to inspire people. People are inspirable. We are brainwashed pretty damn good, but there are people who have, I was brainwashed. See, here's the interesting thing, I just want to tell you this. So I have a shirt that this friend of mine gifted me called Accidentally Vegan, and it's totally true. I had zero interest in going vegan. I didn't even know what a vegan was, like you said, like I was telling you. I didn't even want to be a vegetarian. I was like, cows were put on this earth for us to eat, and we get lots of iron and protein out of them, and I had completely drunk the Kool-Aid, right? And I had no interest in, but I was interested in being healthy. So this book that I read, that first book in 1989 that I was telling you about, that was all about health. And so I was like, well, let me read about health, And it was a great book. There was a whole book on sunshine and a whole book on how to breathe well and how to book on getting enough exercise and getting enough sleep and blah, blah, blah. And you had this inquisitive look on your face. The book is called Living Health. It was Fit for Life Part 2. So for those of us old enough to know this, in the 1980s, there was a big famous book that was on the bestseller list forever called Fit for Life, written by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. Well, the second part was Fit for Life 2, or Living Health, and I read that one first. And there was a big chapter smack in the middle of the book called Animal Products. And after I read that chapter, like I told you earlier, I was like, ooh, I can't eat this crap and put that in my body anymore. And I stuck with that. But for health reasons, I don't know if I would have stuck with it for 34 going on 35 years. But it's the animal ethics that keeps me there, right?
How do you stay positive in such a sick world? Somebody is radiant and full of like optimism, and you just got great energy. You might have something there for us.
Thank you for saying that. I'm human too. I have times when I can be more discouraged than less discouraged. But I just try to keep hope in my heart that there are good people in the world. And when we read the news and we hear about all this stuff, you don't think probably there are too many. But sometimes it just takes that one. Sometimes there's like one person who has that huge spark. And if I can be out there to be one of those people and maybe spark a light in your heart. And you don't need that because you're already vegan. But someone else's heart or something, if that person, you never know who you're going to inspire and who they're going to inspire and on and on. I just try to know that, here's something I think that's important. I used to feel less enthusiastic about it because I felt like the whole world had to go vegan. Now I'm much more of the view that it's not I do want the whole world to go vegan, of course, but you don't have to have the whole world go vegan now. we got to get to that tipping point, like Malcolm Gladwell would say, or there's the 99th monkey principle or whatever. You get to that point where X amount of the population is there, and then it snowballs. And I've heard different figures. So there's like a snowball, like a 12.5 is something I've heard. I've heard 10-ish, 9-ish. There's the 99th monkey principle they talk about. It's a scientific thing. And then Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book, The Tipping Point. So I just think we need to get to that tipping point. And if you get 8 or 10 or whatever percent of that population is doing that, it could completely skyrocket and snowball. And maybe that's what we need. It's kind of getting there.
So you maybe what you've done then is you've reduced some of the pressure by focusing on a smaller number.
I like the way you put that. I hadn't thought of it that way, that I'm reducing pressure, but it's true. I mean, look, I don't care who you are. I mean, unless you're Gandhi or somebody, or Martin Luther King. I mean, most people aren't going to reach 100 million people or 500 million people or a billion people and just change their hearts and minds overnight like that, right? We are living in a world, there's a ton of noise, first of all over the place. And all we can do is take one day at a time and talk to one person at a time and maybe do our videos or whatever and maybe reach a few thousand people or a few million people. And that's awesome. But, rather than look at it like, okay, I've got to change the whole world, that's hard to do. It's not impossible, but it's hard to do. So it's like, let's just do what we can do and kind of focus on what we can do and where we have, our ability to contribute and make a difference in the world. And I just try to focus on that. And just to say, being vegan helps. Being vegan, when you're putting live food in your body that's plant and it doesn't have any blood or guts or violence or fecal matter for that matter. I mean, animal foods have all this fecal matter because, they're slicing open intestines and all the fecal matter comes out. And there was a lawsuit that I think the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine filed against the U.S. Department of Agriculture to say you have to put a toxic label on all this, animal stuff. I don't know where that went, but the thing is, you're feeding your body the food it's meant to have. It's like water to a battery, and you're fueling your body, and you're fueling your spirit, and you're fueling your mind, and your emotions, and everything with good, wholesome food. That helps. It really, really helps your body physiologically and chemically too. So that's a big part of it too.
So you think that lifts up your spirits a little bit?
I think so. And then of course there's the component that goes with it that you're doing good in the world. You're doing the right thing. You're causing the least harm, right? That's important.
Yeah, I often wonder how much more compassionate we become as a result of this, how less violent we become, how much more empathetic to even humans we become.
Yeah, absolutely. It just goes hand in hand. That's the thing. You make those connections. You're like, wow, I'm not going to kill this animal and eat him or her, and then why would I harm this human being? You know what I mean? It bleeds and permeates into everything. You live a more gentle life. I mean, you have a human experience, right? It's not like you'll never experience anger. I mean, that wouldn't make sense. You're human. But there's different ways that you approach it. You'll have a more light approach. You have a much stronger resilience physically too. Like if you're an athlete, you recover much more quickly. And there's all kinds of stuff on that. I don't need to go into that. But I think you emotionally recover more quickly as well.
Yeah. What kind of foods do you eat, man? I mean, like, how has that changed? And are you still learning?
Well, so what's interesting is I do incorporate what I learned in that initial book, Living Health, some. So one thing they talked about in the book, which was they were way ahead of their time. Everybody now talks about intermittent fasting. Well, they talked about that. They just didn't call it that. So what they were saying is there's 3 cycles your body has in the day. From 4 a.m. to noon is the elimination cycle. Noon to 8 is when you should, ingest all your food. And then 8 to 4 is when your body stop eating at 8, roughly, and then let your body assimilate all the food that it ate from 12 to 8. That morning time, you really don't want to eat anything, or you want to eat just fruit, because fruits sort of digest themselves, right? It's like your body doesn't have to spend a lot of energy digesting fruits. That's their theory, and I know that we've been brainwashed into thinking breakfast is the best, the biggest meal of the day, and everybody's body's a little different, so I'm not saying this will work for everybody, but as soon as I read it in the book, I incorporated it, and I've still been doing it 35 years later. I eat nothing in the morning except fruit, or I might have a smoothie, or some fresh squeezed juice, and it's amazing. It lets your body just kind of wake up, do the elimination it needs, and just kind of just get to the point in the day where okay, around noon is when you can start eating food, and then at 8, probably stop eating food, and then let your body I'm not, strictly adhering to that. I mean, sometimes I'll have a bowl of oatmeal at 10:30 in the morning, or I may have something to eat at 9 at night. It's not like that, but the idea is really nice. And then you give your body a big swath of time to just assimilate and eliminate and just chill, So that's been really great. I mean, I really like that, So that was part of your question.
Yeah. So, and then the kind of foods that you try to get on a daily basis.
I try to eat, I'm really keeping in mind like the rainbow, you want to eat as many colors of foods as you can, eat so many different types of vegetables, different types of fruits. I was listening to a really great interview recently with some vegan physicians about the microbiome gut microbiome. And they're talking about you want to try to get 30 or 35 or 40 different types of fruits and vegetables or plants in your body a week. I'm not sure if I reach that. I'm not usually counting, but I bet I get close. I mean, because you're just eating a big variety.
You might surprise yourself.
And maybe be 50. I don't even know. I'm not counting, but yeah. But I eat a lot of fruit. I love fruit. Fruit's just the most wondrous food in the world. If you actually ate fruit all day long, and even raw vegetables, you wouldn't even need to drink water because all the hydration you need is in your food.
Yeah, I've noticed that because like when I've interviewed Mark Huberman, who was 32 years raw, I spent the night there. And I was so dehydrated hanging out with this guy because I wasn't used to, and I'm like, don't you ever drink? And he was like, maybe one glass a day or something. Yeah. And I'd met other people like that and heard of other people doing that. And I was like, you must be getting it all from the fruit. And that seems like that would be the purest way to get water.
It's the most natural way to do it because we don't have like a long snout, let's say, where we can like dip into a river and drink. We have to use these things called, cups and glasses and stuff. And fine, we do it. I mean, in the big scheme of things, that's the least of our concerns when we all do it. But I mean, if you're really eating a purely natural diet, mostly fruit and raw vegetable based, I mean, you're getting the hydration you need.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you don't really drink a lot?
I do. I drink
because you don't maybe don't get as much fruit as you maybe want.
I'll eat the fruit in the morning. I have a fair amount of 1 or 2 smoothies a day. Yeah. I usually have a really good salad for lunch, but salad writ large, right? Not like lettuce and tomato. I mean, it's got like 10 or 12 or 15 ingredients in it. It's got some great stuff. I'll maybe put some cashews on it. It's just fun. So we're from India originally. My mom, I don't live very far from my parents, and so she's an insanely amazing chef, and so we're always eating very delectable, tasty Indian foods all the time, and she cooks vegan at home all the time. So that's really good. So there's a nice variety of all that. You'll go out with friends, and now the variety of what's available vegan is insane. When I went vegan in 1989, it really wasn't. And yes, you had fruits, vegetables, you had your rice and pastas and grains and nuts and seeds, all that. So it wasn't like you were starving by any stretch. But now, it's like there's vegan everything. So there's different types of vegan eggs now. There's like a new company that just came out with vegan boiled eggs.
Yeah, it's like a whole egg.
They're phenomenal.
I haven't
oh my
seen it
God,
yet.
they're so good. Yeah. They're called the Wonder Egg or something like that. Yeah, they're so good. But anyway, so I mean, there's just no...
You have a quote you want to share?
I mean, be the example you want to be in the world, like Gandhi says, for sure. That's good. I mean, that's what I try to do. I wish I could hit everybody over the head with a sledgehammer and say, please stop abusing, murdering, and exploiting, and torturing and murdering animals. Just go vegan now. Doesn't really work, So I try to be the example, lead by example, be the example I want to be in the world, Yeah.
And is there anything that we didn't talk about that you would really like to get out there?
So if Madonna's listening, Madonna, I want you to go vegan. I think you're great, you're revolutionary, and this is a big hole in your resume. Stop exploiting the animals and go vegan. And I want to say that. So there you go. And I'm a lawyer, and I want to sell my law firm, so send me somebody to buy my law firm so I can be a full-time vegan. I'm going to say it again. I'm not kidding.
And any last-minute encouraging words?
You can go vegan. You can do it, really. I mean, and get away from if the V word is intimidating for you for whatever reason, don't think of it that way. Just think you're eating this peaceful, non-violent diet that's all based in plants. There's 1 trillion types of plants. And just eat plants, eat fruits and vegetables and seeds and nuts and berries and whatever it is, grains, and you'll have the most delightful life. I mean, I want people to understand, this is important as a closing thought, if you want me to do a closing thought. You can be joyfully vegan. It's not a deprivation diet, like, oh, it's so sad and it's horrible and I'm making this big sacrifice. Yeah, and I'm an angry vegan, and I'm going to be eating mud off the side of the road because there's nothing else to eat, but I'm doing it because I care for animals. Damn it, I'm a noble. No, you can live the most joyful, wonderful, adventurous, delectable, life. I mean, and there's the most beautiful, most exquisite, most tasty, flavorful, exotic, adventurous palates you can experience around the world in your own local grocery store. And it's about adventure, it's about experimentation, it's about loving life. So just do it and take that plunge. Don't let the media brainwash you, don't let the big corporations, the food industrial complex brainwash you into thinking something. Do your research, see how this is such a wonderful way to live, and just do it. Take the plunge and you will never look back.
Man, I can't wait till you sell your law firm because it's going to be a blast seeing what you do next.
Thank you. I want to sell it. I'm ready. Yes. Send me somebody, please. And even if you don't send me somebody, whoever's watching, put the energy out there for me, please. I am so ready now. I'm ready to jump into that next chapter of my life, and I'm going to blow up the universe. I'm so excited about it.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, and
Thank you, man. Thanks,
And-
Jeff. It's been awesome.
I think you've really like inspired me. It's so beautiful. Like that's another thing. It might be good to throw out there. Like the people, like the
Yes.
being around these like-minded people
Yes,
and this
it's
energy.
wonderful. It's
just,
so inspiring, right?
yeah. I love
Like
it.
you're with people who love the world and who care about animals and who are stepping so gently and lightly on the earth, and you get fired up. I get fired up, and you're just like, you have hope. I mean, you asked me about hope earlier. You get the hope, like there are good people in the world, and there are people who really care. And I'm not trying to say people who aren't vegan aren't good people, but you are doing something that's harming the planet and harming animals, and so I'm not judging you. I'm stating the facts, right? But when you get to that threshold and you finally make that decision and you make that choice in your life, like I'm going to cross the line and I'm going to throw down the gauntlet and I'm not doing this anymore and I'm going to be vegan, damn it. And those people, most of them have such a beautiful fire in their hearts and their spirits, and being with them and connecting with them kind of lights people like me up. It allows you to keep going, moving forward, and just, and like events like this, it's just what Faraz is doing with his organization is so cool. He showed us a video about, some things they're doing, and it's like, wow, it's just so inspiring.
Yeah. Thanks so much, because that's probably a great thing to close on, because it really is important to surround yourself with like-minded people.
It is. And I know there are some people out there, you might be in Podunk, Iowa, and you have no other people around you who are vegan or whatever. You know what? You're living in a good time, though. Try doing it in the 80s when I did it. But now you have YouTube, you have the internet, you have social media, you have connections you can make that way. So even if in your physical proximity you don't have somebody, reach out that way, and we're all here. Jeff is here, right? I'll be there very soon, I'll be doing my stuff, and other people will be there. And then there's just so many good things you can keep filtering through your mind and your heart that'll keep you on that path. And stay strong. Don't let people pressure you and tell you you're whatever, you're crazy or you're extreme or you're less than. It's ridiculous. Why is it extreme to want to live a life where you don't harm animals? Why is it extreme? It's crazy. People just say these crazy things to like intimidate you and to put you down and to make them feel better because they know they should be doing it and they're not. And so they're going to insult you. That employer who didn't want me to go to lunch, it was all her insecurities, not mine. Why should the way I choose to eat affect you? Why do you have to disinvite me from or uninvite me from lunch? But she was so uncomfortable because somewhere deep inside her conscience was giving her a hard time,
Yeah. One person had a really great tip, and it was find somebody that you really admire that's doing this and be friends with them.
There you
Make
go.
friends with them.
I love that. Yeah.
You have any tips like that, maybe?
I just think that the world is so open now with the internet and social media. There's so much availability. Go to LinkedIn. I mean, you can just chat with people, and people are so gracious usually, and they'll write you back. And when I get my LinkedIn stuff up, I'll write you back. I want to do all this stuff, and it's like, it is important. You made a wonderful point, Jeff, to connect with people and be around like-minded people. I relate to that very much because I love connecting with people, and I'm a real social being, as we all are wired to be. But we have it in different amounts. Some are more introverted, some are extrovert, whatever. Part of my experience, and it's just how it happened, was nobody around me was vegan, but it burned so strongly in my heart that it didn't matter for me, right? I don't know. I wish other people could be that way in a way. It's like you're so resolute about something, just like we started talking about earlier. You just do it and you be it. It's who I am. It's not even that I'm doing it. It's who I am. You can't tell me that I'm not vegan. I don't care if you put me around 5,000 other people in a stakeout contest. I'm not touching it because that's who I am, right? And I know that a lot of people maybe don't have that, and it's not about I'm better than you or whatever. It's just people are different. We have different upbringings and different backgrounds. But do what Jeff said. I love what you said, Jeff. Just try to find other like-minded people. Be around them. If you can't be in their physical proximity, be in their their social media proximity or whatever you want to call that. Their media proximity, and communicate with them. Write to them. Send them messages on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, or LinkedIn, and find a way to And there's so many good things out there. There's like summits now. Like right now, as we speak, there's the Food Revolution Summit by Ocean Robbins, which is John Robbins' son. John Robbins is the guy who wrote Diet for America, I said earlier, right? And they're doing that, and it's all about plant-based living, and and it's just like giving people information. And then I think that's so important, because I think for a lot of people it is important to know that they're not alone. Like I said, I'm not sure why it didn't matter to me, but I think 99% of people do need that, and I need that too in other areas maybe. We're not alone. You're not alone. Now in 2023, there's millions and millions of vegans around the world, right? So just tap into that and know that you're not alone, you're not crazy, you're not extreme, You're an incredible human being with a big heart who loves yourself and you love the world and you live a life of compassion. Don't let anyone knock that away from you. Don't let anyone put you down because of that, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise, that you're less than, or that you're crazy, or that you live this unrealistic or impractical life. And don't let people let you make excuses. Hold firm to your beliefs.
Man, I really need some way to share with people how to follow you. Like, you must have a Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or something.
I will tell you, you're so
Let's
sweet.
make one right now.
Let's do something. I'll tell you what the deal was. I'll tell one on myself, and you can edit this out if you want, but I'm a lawyer, and I don't know, I know a lot of people, the only thing they know about the law is what they see in Hollywood, so it has nothing to do with that. Whatever you see on TV shows or in movies has nothing to do with what the practice of law is like 99.9% of the time. It's probably more boring in terms of, like, we sit in an office and do paperwork and legal research, but more than that, it's a high stress, high anxiety kind of causing type of profession, and being vegan has really helped me kind of get through it. So I'm very fortunate. I haven't had to resort to, like, lawyers have really, really poor mental health, and a lot of them do have a lot of substance abuse issues and stuff, and bless all of them. I have no judgment about that. I'm not walking in their shoes. I've been super blessed not to have to go down that road. Part of it, I do believe, is because I'm vegan, and I've had other sources of, like, energy and well-being type of promoting things in my life. I just never really got into social media and all that stuff because I was like, I don't have time, I've got all this work to do. So now that I'm in this transitional space, my heart is hungering more than it ever has to just get out there and do this. The thing is, under legal ethics rules, I can't just dump on my clients. I've got to finish their cases. So if there's someone listening who wants to help me with that, to kind of get those done, not even by the firm, right? At least wind down the cases. And if and I want to get that done, and then I'm going to move on. If I want to sell the firm to someone, let them take over whatever they can, and then I'll just do this full time. That would be amazing. So yeah, I'd love to do something. I'm so, as you can tell, I don't need to tell you, I'm passionate about this. This is a deep, passionate issue for me. This is the reason I was put on this earth. I'm clear about that. This is the message that I want to put out to the universe. A
lot of people wonder, like, how old people are because it's just an obvious, like, curiosity, right? And you look great I'm assuming you're older than me.
I'm 93.
No, you do look great. I'm assuming you're older than me.
Okay, well, thanks for the assumption.
No, the reason why is because
I told you my teenager.
Yeah, exactly. And 35 plus that would make you...
Yeah, 52. I'm 52.
So you're about 3 years older than me.
Yeah. So I said this live. I said this so now the whole world knows my age. That's okay. I'm not hiding it.
I could edit that out.
I'm kidding. It's all right.
Actually, when I was in my 30s, man, I was getting visceral fat and all that, and you're just getting sluggish, like my father and his father and all that.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, that's what everybody thinks. When you're in your 30s, you're supposed to lose your hair, start to lose your hair. You're supposed to get a belly. You're supposed to start to take, medications for, like, blood thinners and anti-cholesterol. It's crazy, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you don't have any of those.
Nothing.
No
medication. Is this wood? I don't know what this is. This is wood. I don't take one medication. I'm so blessed. Nothing. I'll take a B vitamin here and there because they're talking about B12 is so important, and it is. I'm not saying it's not. So just to make sure I'm getting enough of that, I'll have to take a B supplement. What else do I take? That's about it. Sometimes I'll take a vitamin D3 supplement. That's it. Well,
thanks for being so honest.
Yeah, there's nothing. I don't need to take any medication. What for what? You don't see, that's the thing. You don't have to get brainwashed into this whole. Everybody just has this idea. I was having a conversation with somebody just a few weeks ago, and they were saying about somebody in their family got cancer, and the way they said it was like, that's normal. Well, that's just bound to happen. They're going to get cancer. I'm like, why is that bound to happen? Like, why do you have to have blood pressure or diabetes or cancer or heart disease? It's not normal, Elephants don't get heart disease. You know what I'm saying? They eat twigs and leaves all day, and they're doing great.
We can't say it's a panacea, though.
Right.
Vegans do get sick. They get cancer, heart disease, and all these
things.
Sure,
no, it's not that you'll never get sick and you're immortal, but it's also about the quality of your life, right? Like the vivaciousness and the vibrancy. Sure, I'm human. If I'm going to be in the vicinity of someone who keeps breathing on me and sneezing on me and they've got some kind of influenza, I suppose I might catch it. However, my immunity is probably much higher, so I'll probably be much less likely to catch it, but I might catch it, and I have had a cold in my life. It's not like I've never had a cold.
Yeah, how often do you get sick?
The last time I truly got sick was, but this is not fair because vegans do get sick. It's not that they don't, but the last time I got sick, I had the flu, like a flu-like symptom for a whole weekend. in November of 2013. I still remember that. That's it. Since then, I've never had it.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, I don't want to be unrealistic. It's not like everyone's going to have that. But I'm just, I have a high immune system. I try to keep my mental health really good. And it's a challenge. I'm not saying, we all have like challenges in life. And I eat a clean diet, and I try to stay really positive.
Man, I was getting sick twice a year before I went vegan.
Yeah,
Literally.
yeah,
In fact, I didn't even think about the health reasons until like 5 years later. It was like I went vegan for ethical reasons, and then it was like 5 years later I realized I hadn't been sick in 5 years. I used to get sick twice a year.
Yeah, for sure.
It's insane, man.
Well, I mean, all these slaughterhouse products carry disease in them, for one thing. I mean, that's what all this, Faraz was saying in his presentation today, that he's a scientist and he did research on all these vaccines and, whatever. And all these major diseases that people have, including COVID or whatever, these pandemics, are based in some kind of animal origin.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not eating animals, I mean, you're kind of lessening your susceptibility to that.
And there was a study that they did where they showed like across 6 different countries, they looked at, I think it was like healthcare professionals, and they found that if you're vegan, you're 73% less likely to have moderate to severe COVID symptoms than non-vegans. Like pescatarians almost did as good, and then like everybody else just, it's a very dangerous thing for everybody else. And it's just so ironic because if that comes from if that's a zoonotic disease and vegans aren't getting as sick, pretty ironic.
Yeah, but nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to look at the facts. Don't confuse people with the facts. They want to keep eating what they want to eat, right? And that's the thing, right? It's about family, it's about culture, it's about tradition. I mean, people have every excuse in the book. I want to write a book one day called Excusitarian, because everybody's got every excuse in the book to keep abusing animals. Oh, but my mom cooked it that way, or this is what our culture says, or this is how it's done in our family. It's like, oh, really? Okay, so you're just going to keep abusing and murdering animals because that's how it was done? Put that same argument for exploitation of people of color or women or children, or go down the list, people of different races or whatever, and that would not fly. But somehow we keep allowing those same arguments to be made about exploiting and harming and murdering non-human animals. It's completely unacceptable.
Man, you are so on fire, and we've managed to hang out here until
until they're closing. Yeah. Well, I'm always on fire about this topic. If you wake me up at 3:30 in the morning, I will be on fire, because this is the raison d'être of my life.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and I guess it's a good time for a wrap.
Sounds great, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me.